Welcome back, Transformer TCG fans. Yeah, natural lighting is nice, but I had to put something up here. But let's get right into it. Now, base cards. I think when last we left, we went over about 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 cards. I think we mentioned a few others. Abandoned Base, Airport Hangar, Allspark Fortress, Ambassador Shuttle, Antechamber of Vector Sigma. I think we went over the arcade as well, but I didn't have 1984. So let's look at 1984. I could have made this a Decepticon faction card because I do mention the Spy Patrols, but I didn't do it. But 1984, simple looking image of Ravage on a Hill from the G1 cartoon. While this is in the battlefield, that it's going to give mini cassettes and Spy Patrols +1 to attack until end of turn. So, or while this card is in the battlefield, if it gets knocked out by someone else or your opponent, it's, you know, that attack is gone. You may not be able to use it for 2 turns, etc., etc. So, and because it's giving +1 to attack for characters, I don't have anything else here. There's nothing else there, as well as no cards that can't be played by either player. So there's nothing fishy going on about that. So we did sort of miss that one in the first episode, and I do apologize. So let's look at let's look at the Argon Sea. Argon Sea is interesting. So it's a blue and green pip. The green has the Seeker. No, it's got the plane trait on it. Excuse me. That's right. Plane trait goes up. The Seeker trait goes down. So only planes can get this on the flip. Or you can draw it out of your deck. Just right out of your deck, too. So if you play Argon Sea, at the start of turn, do 1 damage to each of your characters in alt mode. So especially if you might want to, might be a good one to play later in the game and you're getting your characters into all bot mode. It doesn't have to be a combiner team or anything like that, to where when you play it and at the end of your turn is the start of the other opponent's turn, boom, that's when that triggers. At the end of your turn, at the start of turn, it triggers. You play it at the start of your turn, it doesn't trigger because playing the card started your turn. So that point has passed. So it's not going to happen again until your opponent's turn. So that's why I have the verbiage at the start of turn. Either player, because battlefield base cards, golly, affect both sides of the table, both players playing. So yeah, if you have somebody in alt mode, you're going to have to do 1 damage to your characters in alt mode. They have characters in alt mode, it's going to affect them. Boom, 1 big bump on the whole table. Cards with the Seeker pip cannot be played by either player. So there is that. I mean, it takes a plane, if you're playing with planes and Seekers or whatever. Now, I don't know if anyone has made a upgrade or cards with the Seeker trait on it. But if they have, like ATP and all their waves that they've done, or the Arc or whatever, you won't be able to play them. This is going to prevent those cards from being played. But the plane traded characters, which alt mode, that is in alt mode, they're going to be able to go to or get the Argon Sea out of being flipped. So there's that. Let's. Oh, I just had this up. I'm gonna have to wait for it to load again. Excuse me. That went pretty quick. Asteroid belt Cybertron. This is one of the 2 asteroid belts that I created. While this card is in the battlefield, at the start of each turn, each player does 1 damage to 2 different characters they control when possible. So, what do I mean when possible? Well, if they're 1 tall, they can only do 1 damage to their character if they're playing Fort Max or Scorponok or, pick a 1 tall character, Triptychon, Scorponok, Metroplex, whoever. Or if they're playing a combiner character, and they have combined, and you finally get this in play, well, you're only going to get 1 damage on them to it, and then you're going to have to do 1 damage to 2 of your characters if you still have 2 characters in play. So it's going to hurt both sides of the table. Why would you want to do this? Well, aerial bots each have +1 health while this is in play. So again, this is a simple green pip card. There's no other pips on here. And I didn't put any traits on that green pip either. So the only way you could play this with aerial bots, unless you just happen to have a few random aerial bots in your team and playing other characters with them, or you're breaking the 25-star barrier in a casual setting or something, or it could be one of 2 base cards maybe you're using in a deck of 40 or more, without being able to have 3 base cards. Again, is this going to help them much? No, help them that much. It's not going to help Superion, who I don't think he has the aerial bot trait, but the aerial bots do. Okay, and that's it. Because I think this is a part near season 3 where the aerial bots are flying in space and they're hiding behind the asteroids and they're attacking Decepticons. So that's the one in Cybertron. So, again, Asteroid Belt, Milky Way. While this card is in the battlefield, each Autobot has -2 tough. Unconventional flying object can't be played by either player. A character's, and then as a result of -2 tough, a character's tough cannot be less than 0. So just because you can't have negative tough, there's just no way. 0 is 0 when it comes to bold, tough, except pierce, etc. If there's no pierce, there's just no pierce. If there's no bold, there's just no bold. You can't take away tough from somebody if they don't have tough. So I think that was a pretty basic way of saying that on a card like this. And I want to say we've seen something like that from official cards by wave 5. So there's that. That's the 2 asteroid belts. We looked at Argon Sea. Let's jump ahead because I really want to look at the Standing Stones. The Standing Stones was the first ever what I considered a location card. It's the first one I ever tried making on my phone. Summer of 2020, shortly after the card game got canceled. Okay, so while this is on the battlefield, and this is the exact same image from my old phone that I don't have anymore. I had to trade it in to get the new one. So at the start, while this is on the battlefield, again, at the start of turn, each player does 1 damage. This is 3 cards we've looked at. So Cygars are going to be important when playing with base cards. All right, not just Saishi, but Argon Sea, Asteroid Belts, the Asteroid Belts, and now even the Standing Stones. Okay, so if there is a base card that is going to give you non-attack damage on one of your characters, Cygars are going to be important. Unfortunately, it is on paper, but unfortunately, it's a blank pip card. Okay, things to think about. This seems to work. I think this works. So each player does 1 damage to each character equipped with an armor. So if they're getting this, standing stones might be a good one to play sort of later in the game. The asteroid belts might be okay to okay to play earlier in the game. And yes, this is the standing stones from Beast Wars. That's what they called it. It looked like, it was gosh, and this was even before they considered that the planet was Earth. Even the creators didn't exactly know what they were doing, and they were leaving interpretations up for where they could have crashed at. And then secondary energon type upgrades cannot be played by either player. Energon type upgrades, yes, like Energon X, my homemade Energon, Energon Mace, Energon whatever, Energon Daggers, Energon Lances, Energon Hooplas, Energon Dresses, whatever the homemade card might have it. If it has the word Energon in it, red Energon, and it's an upgrade, they can't be played. So it's Energon type upgrades cannot be played by either player. When? Again, read the top line while this is on the battlefield. Once it's knocked out, especially if your opponent has played this and it's your turn and you have an armor on one of your characters, you're going to have to damage one of the put one damage on that living weapon Megatron, and it's not for each armor. It's just if they have an armor, you do one damage. Light non-attack damage. They have a Cygar. They equipped also. You get a pass. You don't get damaged. And as long as they have Energon type upgrades on them from a previous turn, that's fine. But so that here's the rub. Let's say you didn't have a base card in hand at the start of your turn. Standing stones is bumps the table. You damage your character with an armor on it. You draw a card. You finally get a base card. You play up that base card to knock standing stones off. If you do have like an Energon Axe or something along those lines, yes, now you can play that Energon upgrade because you knocked standing stones off the table and put in your own base card. So things to think about. This makes sense. How it would be effective in the game, I think it would be okay. But I think I like the strategy going on here. And if other people like this, because to me the zone cards just seem to be too cerebral for me. I'm from Alabama, went over my head. I'm like trying to read stuff. Well, if this happens and then this happens, I don't understand why this is happening. So anyway, so there's the standing stones. Let's look at another one. I'm going down the list because these are just too fun and too interesting. Thrall. Thrall is a blue and green pip base card with the green pip having the leader trait. So only leaders can get this on the flip on attack or defense. While this is on the battlefield, a player may scrap a character's upgrade they control for turn. If they do, their Decepticon leader has pierced 3 until end of turn. So yes, you have a Decepticon leader, you're going to want to have Thrall in your deck with your Space Bridge. Well, your Space Bridge is a stratagem. It doesn't go in your deck. But Thrall would allow you to, let's say you have Thrall on the battlefield. This is not a start of turn thing. But say you have some extra paddings or some sort of armors. Maybe your opponent didn't go into that character and you're like, well, I really want this emergency barricade or something on this character, but my opponent didn't hit them. But my Decepticon leader hasn't gone yet for turn. Well, let's scrap that, or that doesn't make any sense, but let's scrap an upgrade. Scrap an upgrade on any character you control that Decepticon leader now is going to have an extra Pierce 3 until end of turn. Weapon upgrades cannot be played by either player. So you can't get that fusion bore in on this turn. To have a fusion bore on your Decepticon leader to scrap an upgrade on your team to be able to get Pierce 6. That fusion bore would need to be on that character from a previous turn. And they haven't attacked yet. So that makes sense. Because normally when you attack with the fusion bore, it gets scrapped. So this is good setup. This is some good setup to be able to get some really hard attack with Pierce from utilizing base card, the action off the base card, and having a fusion bore on a Decepticon leader from a previous turn. So, in getting that Pierce 3 on a Decepticon leader. How can it get in play? By drawing it from your deck, or only a leader can get Krull off the flip. I like this. This makes sense. Where is this? And I don't understand this image. It is from the beginning of Season 3 when Scourge and Cyclonus in the sweeps go find... they go to Unicron and to see where Galvatron went. You see that very part of the end of the movie. And Krull is the name of the asteroid or planetoid or whatever that Galvatron got thrown into. He's in the lava with his hand sticking out. And they go get him. So that's where Galvatron was. I like this. This makes sense. I can do one more, and I've got to get to work. And it's going to be Volcano Cavern Arc. And if you did notice with Krull, Decepticon faction card, because it's only going to give Pierce 3 to Decepticon leaders. So Volcano Cavern Arc is an orange and green pip. Only melee characters are going to get this on the flip, on the swap. While this card is in the battlefield, and this is an Autobot faction card. Why? Because I mentioned Dinobots. So each Dinobot in body mode has bold 1 for turn, and each Titan Master and melee character has tough 1 for battle. So this is a neat duo kind of multi-purpose card that is going to help certain characters with attack and certain characters with defense to be able to play one more either direction, but they have to be those traits. So, yeah. You remember what character that can go on as a head that can turn anybody and add the Dinobot trait? Yeah. You can play 2 body modes and 2 Titan Masters. I may not give you much stars left for another character maybe, but then you would also be able to have 2 Titan Masters to come out, and if both of those body modes or those characters are melee characters, you're going to get bold 1 and tough 1 possibly, depending on how you create your team. So, what do you think? I like this stuff. This is getting extremely fun. I'm trying not, again, playing more with Pierce, bold, and tough, and negative bold, and negative tough, stealth, etc., etc. I'm kind of staying away from safeguard on these things for the most part. But we got a whole lot more to go through. A whole lot more. I ain't done, people. Not done by a long shot. We've been 20 minutes. We'll let you go right here. I got to get back to work. If you like this, throw some scraplets at that like button. Subscribe if you haven't already. It helps. I don't care, but it helps. It helps YouTube with the algorithm, and share this with somebody that enjoys the transfer of the TCG in a casual setting with interesting new cards, a whole new card type that is being made in the process that I've been working on for over 2 years. These are not zone cards. These are different. These go in your deck, and they are pipped. Have pip colors on them. We'll see you next time. Thanks for being here. Thanks for hanging out. Thanks for listening. And as always, Autobots, flip out and let's roll for it.